What did you do?
Well, I broke it. I knew it was inevitable. But yeah, that trail of tears is to the transmission of the MR2. So let's reverse back a little bit and look at some of the reasons that may have happened.
So, I still have toggle switches for shifting. First gear, second, third, overdrive, third, second, first. Sometimes, if I'm starting off in second and testing some stuff out, then I should shift to third, but I've accidentally shifted to first. The first time that happened, it actually was at pretty high RPM and pushed the pump seal, converter seal out of the trans. Ever since then, had a bit of a whine. So I assumed the pump was a little lazy. And in fact, if you put it in drive right away, it felt like a slipping. But if you like put it in neutral and revved it up, got everything flowing, then drive, then it seemed to work. So I knew it was not awesome. And what else?
So it's also struggled to do a burnout. A lot of weight in the rear and nothing up front. And I would have two different issues. If I had enough traction in the rear, it would just scoot the front. Or in other cases, I just couldn't get it to really just start to do a burnout in water or whatever real well for various reasons that I'm not even totally sure. But so what I decided was I needed to shock the tire. I have nitrous. The car is wired for nitrous. So I figured, why not use nitrous? And I installed nitrous, put a 50 shot on it. Didn't really do a whole heck of a lot. So up the jet to 100 shot approximately. And that worked. It's what I could do is just really simple, not a lot of trickery. Just have my foot halfway on the brake and mash the gas. Had nitrous kick on at like 2000 RPM, and then light them up even on dry pavement. So that's great. I needed that, but I think that and the multiple testing of launches to try to see what would work did the trans in. So what happened was it started making worse noises, and then I barely got home. I didn't realize it was leaking the whole time, but the case is cracked. So what happens with the case cracked is that the transfer gears are helical, and they can break off a little tooth get in there, and then spreads apart, cracks the case. So somewhere along the line broke the transfer gears, and that's that. Now, the good news, I have a spare trans, and it's stock. So I already ordered some gears from Chris at Revenge Performance, who does a lot of 3000 GT stuff, but he's getting me the Liberty straight cut gears. We'll overdrive at 7% from stock, so get a little better cruising RPM too. And I'll get some Kigley clutches. I didn't order those yet, but get some Kigley clutches for it and then swap over this valve body. So it's not the end of the world. It's just a lot of work to remove this trans, swap some of the stuff over to the other trans, and tear the other trans down basically all the way in order to get to the transfer gears, and then put it all back together and back in here. Probably ought to send the torque converter out to get cleaned up too, in case there's stuff in there. And then nitrous works, burnout works. It's launching really well on hard tires, making good power, The only thing is I got to get that shifting. So either get Fuel Tech, figure out what I'm doing wrong there, or buddy Josh, who runs mitsutimes.org, he has a Force 4 shift box, and that's what we use in Micah's car, and he's not using it anymore, so I can buy that from him. And it's just up and down buttons, or you can run a tack signal to the Force 4 box, and it will shift for you at a set RPM under wide open throttle or whatever set RPM, and or send a ground signal from Fuel Tech to the Force 4 box. Super simple, same thing. Set RPM, it'll shift. So that's the plan. 2 steps forward, I guess 1.5 steps back, but it's getting there.
And an update on this beast, I got this. So this is the SFI specifications for a 25.1 chassis. So 25.1 spec. So full-bodied tube chassis roll cage. And it will be good for 749 in the quarter and quicker, as long as it's under 2,800 pounds. So when you read through this, basically it says all they care about is the structure around the driver and nothing in front or behind. So that really no specs for, just use your brain and do that. So it's a lot of reading and then some pictures. So it goes through some basics, then it goes through some other highlights, talks about funny car hoop. I've made some notes in here specifically to my car. Long story short, what I found was I need to do a couple of things. One, we'll start up here. I need a diagonal bar from the top of the funny car hoop to the front of the windshield bar. So I can either do it like this, or I can go from one corner to the other. So probably do it this way, less intrusive, I believe, for myself and passenger this way. So gonna do that. Also need to add some foot structure. Your foot can't go past this bar basically, unless you have some other structure here. And I'm gonna need a little extra foot room. So they have some specs on how far this diagonal can go. And then I'm gonna add my own stuff over here. And then also right now it has X bars all the way through it, but I need transmission room. So I'm going to cut those X bars out, make short X bars. And again, there's some rules, like you can't, so this width in between is 22 inches and it has to be the length of the width. So this will come out to 22 also, but then this leaves this whole space for transmission to come out the bottom. Then I also need to make a removable cross member here, which is allowed with double plates on each side that bolt together with 4 bolts. And then this can be removable. So let me show you. So that cut out and shortened to that mark. Come on, you can do it. And then this cut, double plate on each side, so it's removable. That'll probably end up going away, but there's that. And then this whole thing, oh, and that bar up here, from here to there. Then this whole thing should certify for that 25.1 spec. Then the front, what I planned is they make a cup here that's weldable to the cage and threaded with some fancy stuff to allow ride height adjustments independent of preload. And so I'm gonna do cup here And then from, instead of this going this way, which will be in the way of my motor, turn it this way to the chassis, right there. And possibly even get rid of these down bars. We'll see if I want to keep those or not. They don't need to be there once I tie all this in. And then what I'm thinking is, instead of coming to here, maybe come up over to here. We'll see. Who knows? But that's the front. Get rid of this. And then there'll be a motor plate in here for the motor, which right now is planning a D-stroke 3.8 Myvec down to a 3.6 liter. So it's 3.8 liter Myvec 6G75, and you put in a 6G74 crank, less stroke, more overlap from the rod to main. It's the strongest stock Mitsubishi V6 crank you can use, just by design. Not necessarily material. I don't think there's any differences. So we're gonna do that.
Happy Easter.
Pause for a commercial break for foods. It's Easter Sunday, and my wife made me bacon and eggs, and it's tasty. So, like I was saying, D-stroke a 6G75 down to 3.6 liter with a 74 crank, aluminum rod, forged pistons, blah, blah, blah. Bill Henscher's working on a adapter plate for the 6G to a GM Auto, and probably turbo 400. So 6G, turbo 400, drive shaft, Ford 9-inch. And then I really would love to make Sick Week in February. That trans dying does not help my plan, because that'll take time and energy, so, and money. But if all we do is V6 stuff, I don't need to overbuild everything back here with crazy fabricated rear end housing and stuff like that. I can get a stock Ford housing and save some money there. Same with the trans. I don't need anything super crazy. Just a basic build, turbo 400. And then this, we got to build all kinds of structure back here for, though. So the tube stuff will take a lot of thinking and then some cutting and welding, but all the tin work and the wheel well tubs, all that stuff I've never done before. That'll take a lot of time, unfortunately. So that's that. There's updates for both unnamed car. Oh, I don't know if I showed this. Look at that. No longer blue hood. Maybe I showed it already. Either way, looks good. Was calling this Bruiser, but it's no longer black and blue. And maybe just calling this 2.0. Don't know. But yeah, we still need some names that make sense. Because update on this car and update on that car isn't very appealing. Happy Easter.